You're talking about Sean. Does it seem like year two, he sort of has his thumbprint on this team a little bit more? Like, just feels like maybe the
Yeah.
culture has changed a little bit, or the mindset, the attitude that they play with.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I mean, obviously they're playing hard. They're an aggressive football team. They're trying every week to establish the run. There's no question about that. And the way they're playing defensively, like there's a great energy to this football team. There's a great culture that's being developed with this football team. And I've said this for a long time because last year was somewhat of a debacle, and there's a lot of people out there. Oh, Sean, purposely sabotage Russ, and Sean is this and Sean is that, and you know all that stuff. And I get it all the time on social media. All that stuff is just absolute garbage. Man, one thing I know about Sean, you think the players' egos are big? Walk upstairs to Sean's office if you want to see an ego. Like
Uh,
that guy is not purposely sabotaging anything, but he does know what wins, right? He is that guy that understands what he wants, what wins. And all I would point to is look at all the guys that were former players in New Orleans and how many of them wanted to come to an organization that's rebuilding. That
mhm.
doesn't that ultimately is not in a Super Bowl, run because they don't have, the components to win a Super Bowl yet. They're trying to build those things, and because they play in the same division as Patrick Mahomes, and yet there's five, six, seven guys that came from New Orleans and said, "Man, I want to play for Sean Payton." And it goes to show you, man, he's hard on guys. He coaches the snot out of you. He's hard. You think he's hard on the players, man. He's really super hard on his coaches. But there's an accountability factor there that's real. And guys really appreciate him. He does make it fun. Really, he's really a player's coach, believe it or not, even though he's hard on guys. And I remember one of the first things he did, I'd called Denver games, in my work with Fox, to where you're sitting down in the cafeteria, and we're off to the side in in this production meeting room, and we get our food stuff. And you walk down there, and there's all kinds of people down there from the offices, from the business offices, and everything else. And one of the first things he did is he came in and goes, no non-essential,
Yeah.
no non-essentials are going to be in the cafeteria. Like I want that to be a sanctuary for my players. And it's stuff like that that players, it resonates with players. Like, because you're fine with, the business people and some suits from different corporations that are sponsoring. Like I understand how the business part of it works and it's great. But, you want to be able to walk in there in your underpants and grab yourself something to eat if you want to and not have to be like, oh, let me get dressed. And what if there's a client in there? Like that, then all of a sudden it's not my area anymore, right? It's
Mhm.
public domain. And you want to keep it as much a sanctuary as possible. And Sean understands that about players, and players really respect stuff like that. That really resonates with players.
You can even tell some of that, like in the post game, in the victory speech, where you see those pictures, and it's all, they got the fog machine going, and the guys seem like they really got that
Mm-hmm.
camaraderie. Uh, Mark, do you see any similarities between Sean and Mike Shanahan, like that same sort of like discipline and toughness, but guys really love the coach?
Absolutely. Yeah, tons of similarities. You love the accountability factor. And man, if you're not accountable and you're screwing things up, you don't get to play. It's a pretty simple recipe, right? I mean, and it's, for a player, like you understand the meritocracy nature of playing in the National Football League, and you got to be good. It doesn't matter where you came from. You could be a Quinn Miners as a Division III player, or you can be, a Patrick Surtain as a Alabama #1 draft choice guy. Like if you can play, you get to play. And there's an accountability factor there that I appreciate. I appreciated that about Mike. Like we're not gonna have a bunch of guys who aren't professionals. And I always say, just because you play a pro sport doesn't make you a professional.
Hmm.
And somebody has to be accountable. We all have to be accountable to one another. And if you're not accountable to me as your teammate, then you shouldn't get to play. And ultimately, that's not my job. That's the coach's job to put his foot down and say, we're not putting up with that. And So I appreciate that. Those are similarities that Sean has, that Mike had. They're demanding, they're hard, they're all those things, man. But they are player first coaches.
Mm.
And they expect a lot out of you, but they sacrifice a lot for you.